Hey y'all, so my name is James Apple. I'm gonna talk to y'all today about sepsis. Sepsis is really important for y'all to recognize. We recently had a 25-year-old ICU patient who had a UTI, who he started taking antibiotics for, and he didn't complete his antibiotics, ended up getting more sick, and that was from sepsis. I'm qualified to talk about this. I've been in EMS for 3 years, first response for 6, and I've worked in the ER for 2 years. We really sepsis has changed in its definition. It used to be solely on geriatric patients, pretty much we were watching for sepsis. We've recently learned, as evident by the 25-year-old ICU patient, that sepsis can affect younger folks. So sepsis has a really changing definition, but we're gonna talk about the definition of sepsis and how it's changed, the causes of sepsis, and why you need to recognize it and what to do when you recognize it. Sepsis, like I said initially, was originally something we really only watched for in geriatric patients. Recently, we've changed to watch for it in younger patients as well. We measure it with end-tidal stuff in the field, we measure it with stuff in the ER, and we're really watching with this new definition that we want to catch it within the first 40 minutes. Because sepsis is the highest mortality rate of any hospital-borne infection, and it is the #1 killer in critical patients above anything else. That has changed from its initial definitions. Pretty much just old folks with low blood pressure with some kind of infection. What sepsis really is an infection that has come back from a previous infection that you didn't completely get rid of, and it started to attack your vital organs and sends you into organ failure, which is why it's really dangerous and why it has such a high mortality. Typically, your high risk ratios are people with compromised immune systems, older folks, young pediatric patients, and folks with immunocompromised diseases like HIV and AIDS. The #1 cause of sepsis normally is going to be an antibiotic-resistant infection. That paired though with the history of infection or incomplete taking of prescriptions is a lot of times what happens, especially with our 25-year-old patient. What happened was he had a UTI, he got a prescription, he took it till he felt better, quit. The UTI was never actually gone. It came back with a vengeance and got him with sepsis. That history of infection is a lot of times it's a sign of immunocompromised. If somebody's always getting sick, always has infections, they most likely have some kind of immunocompromising disease. That antibiotic-resistant infection staph, especially in gyms, stuff where you get infections that have been treated but not gone away, people that get sick with staph and then go take their prescriptions but then still go to the gym and work out, where they're spreading that staph around. That staph is an antibiotic-resistant infection. And then not completing your prescriptions. If you don't complete your prescriptions, you're just asking for trouble. Just because you feel better doesn't mean it's gone all the way. There's a reason that you get 7 days antibiotics, not 4 days. It's really important to recognize that sepsis though, especially in early recognition. Just like I said earlier, 40 minutes is what we're trying to recognize in the ER. Obviously that doesn't happen in the field all the time, but that's what we're trying to do. You have to hit 2 or 3 criteria to be deemed septic in the ER. You have to have a high temperature, high heart rate, high respiratory rate. You have to hit 2 of those 3, a temperature being a fever, heart rate being over 100, and a respiratory rate being over 30. When you check 2 of those boxes, we start to look at something else called hypoperfusion. That's a blood pressure issue. It's where your body's not getting enough blood to your vital organs, and so they're starting to shut down. You're going into organ failure. We measure that by lactic acid, end-tidal CO2, and your actual blood pressure, your MAP and your BP. Your MAP is your mean arterial perfusion. And so that's an average number. So with your blood pressure, we're looking for a systolic of under 90 or a MAP under 60. Your end-tidal, we're looking for an end-tidal under 30. Now, end-tidal is really based on, the reason we're using end-tidal is to assume a lactic. An end-tidal under 30 is a lactic under 4. An end-tidal under 24 is a lactic under 3. You're hitting benchmarks of, hey, this person's sick, hey, this person's really sick. Hey, because the lactic acid is something they use in the ER, we don't use it in the field because it requires a blood draw. So we don't have the ability to draw your blood and measure it in the field. But it's really important to recognize the definition of sepsis, what it is, and why it's important to know what sepsis is. Everybody has grandparents, everybody has parents, everybody has that friend that gets a UTI. Everybody knows that person that doesn't take all their meds when they get them because they feel better and they quit. Recognize what causes it. We get back to that medicine. Especially in younger generations, take all your antibiotics. There's a reason you get all of them. And recognizing it, because if you've got a friend that gets a UTI that doesn't take all their meds and then starts to feel like crap, they start breathing, you notice they're breathing heavy all the time, breathing fast. You notice they're always anxious because their heart rate's up, or they're always sweating. They're saying, oh man, I think I got a fever, I don't feel good. that's a sign that they might be septic. And you start noticing that in combination with every time they stand up they get lightheaded, that's typically a sign of low blood pressure. It might be time for you to encourage them to go get checked out at the ER. Because sepsis in early recognition, like I said, we're hitting 40-minute marks, is what makes the difference in whether or not you end up in the ICU or whether or not you end up back in your own bed that night. So like I said, it's really important because has the highest mortality rate in critical patients, and you don't want your friends to end up dead, or your family for that matter. So check on your friends, check on your grandparents, and make sure if you say signs of sepsis that you encourage them to get checked out. Thank y'all.